Most income investors are choosing between QQQI and GPIQ, but almost nobody is asking the question that actually matters. What if the best option isn't either one? In this video, I'm breaking down QQQI versus GPIQ. Not just yield, not just price, but what actually happens to your portfolio over time. We're going to look at income generated, potential growth, and what you'd actually be living on. Because on the surface, both of these look incredible. High income, strong performance, but when you dig deeper, they behave very differently. And at the end, I'm going to show you something most people never consider. What happens when you combine both? And the result completely changes the outcome. Welcome back to Simply Money. So today we're going to be looking at QQQI and GPIQ, and we're going to start out with the triple QI. Now these two funds are very popular. There's a lot of information out there about these. I want to show you what the forecast would look like over a 20-year period if you put $100,000 into each one. And then we're going to look at what happened if you split that and put $50,000 in each one and combine them. In this scenario, all distributions will be reinvested for the 20-year period that we're looking at. We have the sheet here that's available down at the description below at Buy Me a Coffee. If you'd like a copy, you can get one there. I appreciate all of the support that you guys provide. But here on this sheet, what we do is we come over here to the ticker and you pick the drop down and you can choose what ticker you want to compare and put in your portfolio. And so I have QQQI and GPIQ here. And on the conservative model, we're just throwing 100% into QQQI. On the moderate, we're going with 100% in GPIQ. And in the aggressive, we're doing 50-50. Now you can use this to set up complete portfolios of up to 10 funds. And then you can play with what percentage you want where to make it conservative up to aggressive. And that's what this spreadsheet's designed for. But I use it this way to help have a comparison with different funds and give you a really easy way to look at that. Over here, we put in the amount that we're investing. We're starting out with the $100,000, and we're just going to stick with that on this scenario, and we're accumulating it for 20 years. At the end of 20 years, it'll shift and show what it does by taking the distributions and living on that. And with the sheet, you can go ahead and play with that as well. You can change the amount that you invest, what percentage you're putting in each of the tickers, how many years you're accumulating, if you want to project out 10 years or 50 years, and we can go ahead and play around with that, and you get different scenarios that you can play with. Again, we're just looking at these two. So here's QQQI, 100%. The $100,000 is invested. We come over here to the forecast, and we make sure that we have conservative, because that's where the one we're looking at right now is located. So under the conservative model, shows our $100,000, and we come down here to the chart. It shows you each month how that is growing. It shows you the income generated, how much income is paid out. We're not taking income, so none of it is paid out. It is all reinvested, and so then it accumulates, and you can see that snowball effect. Now, this is not financial advice. This is informational and educational purposes only, and all this data is past data. We don't know if it will continue, if any of these funds will continue like it has done in the past. It may do worse, it may do better, we don't know. All we can do is use the past data to predict and forecast what it would look like if it maintained that. Please keep that in mind and know that all investment comes with risk. With QQQI getting $100,000, you would start out, you'd see your first payment right there at about $1,100 per month, and that accumulating as both the price is appreciating and you're adding more shares as you're buying and reinvesting that. What we want to do is come down to the end of year 20. We'll look right here at year 21. Then to year 20 here, you can see that accumulation, QQQI, if things stayed the same, would be at $2.7 million. And you would be getting, check that out, a $30,000 per month dividend. So that's a really strong dividend that's happening as you've accumulated more and more shares, and that distribution, if it remained the same yield, you would be looking at about $30,000 per month. And you can see at the end of year 20, beginning of year 21, it shifts to now your income paid out, and you can track that. So you can see you're getting pay raises as you go down, and you could track and see as you took out this income and you're not reinvesting it, how would your portfolio perform? And you could go down further and see how that does. But on this scenario, we're focused on what would happen at the end of 20 years. Again, if you want to run some scenarios yourself, feel free to grab a copy of this. You can run it for 5 years, 3 years, whatever you feel fit to do. Now, coming back over here, remember we had the moderate is where we have GPIQ at 100%. The $100,000 goes in there. So we come back over to forecast and we change this from conservative to moderate. And we come at the beginning. You can see that the income per month is slightly lower because GPIQ is kind of a hybrid where it's trying to pay out a nice, decent yield. Right now it's about 9.9%. And then it's also trying to capture some of the upside. And so you get a little bit of both, where QQQI is around 14% yield, and there's very little upside. There is some upside, but again, we've been in a very strong bull market. So if we're in a long bear market, you might see that depreciating going down as that market continues. So we don't know, again, what would happen in the future, but if things stayed like they've been with these two funds, you can see you'd get about $782 a month. But let's see what happens at the year 20 with this fund. Even though you start out with a lower amount, if you come down here to the end of year 20, yeah, you're still down a little bit, but instead of $30,000 a month, you're getting $27,000. But check this out. Instead of that 2.7 or 2.8 million, you're looking at $3.5 million in your portfolio. You give up a little bit of the income in this long-term scenario, but you gain a lot of upside. That's a pretty big difference right there, about $900,000, $800,000. If you look at the two differences, let's go back here, 2.7, almost 2.8, and this one's at 3.5. So about $700,000 difference, but you're losing about $3,000 a month of income. This is a pretty hefty monthly income if you want to consider that as well. Again, this is just showing you what it's done in the past. This is how it would, if it continued, what it would look like. Now, what we want to do is, remember, you come back to the portfolio engine here, you see that we've split it 50-50. So 50,000 goes into QQQI, 50,000 goes into GPIQ. Coming to the forecast, we go down here to the aggressive model where we have that situated. You can see that your income starting out is kind of in the middle. Instead of $1,100 or $750, you're right at about $950 a month. That's a nice income off of $100,000, getting just under $1,000 a month. Now let's see what happens when we go down to year 20. The end of year 20, we see that we are sitting at $3.1 million and $29,000, almost $30,000 of income. That is really a nice combination where you're getting a little bit more of the upside. Your end balance is still very, very healthy, and you really didn't lose any of the income compared to QQQI. Let's look at that real quick overview once more. With just QQQI, you're looking at $30,500 with only 2.7 million invested there. With the combination, you're only down $1,000 a month of income, but you're up significantly on your portfolio. And if you looked at just GPIQ, you lose a little bit more of the income, but gain a little bit more of the balance at the end. So when you look at that combination of both, it's a very nice, healthy distribution and where you would be at with that. Now, one thing I want to do is, let's say that, and again, these are both income focused. Typically, we would look at, let's go all in on like QQQ or some other growth fund and see what our balance would be at the end of 20 years. Then we transfer into some income focused. But because we have both of these are kind of income focused, we're going to take the highest end portfolio balance and say, okay, what happened if we did do GPIQ? We're still getting $27,000 of income here, but we had the 3.5 million. So we're going to put that over here and do a what we call a transferring over to an income focus. You're already kind of income focused on this one, but I do want to show this for those who like seeing this, what happens if I did that. Oops, sorry. We'll go to 0 years here. So we're not accumulating. We're taking the income immediately. At the end of year 20, we'd take our full balance, and we're going to see where we would be at on that. As we come down here to year 1, you can see we have our balance. With this, if we put it all in QQQI, you can see that it would produce $38,000 of income. Now, this is, again, after 20 years, and you transfer it, if you put it all into QQQI to generate as much income as possible. Or if you stuck with GPIQ, you can see that you're still getting that $27,000 a month, and you could go from there. But what if you split it? Like you went all GPIQ, and then at 50 years, you say, I want to increase my income some, so I'm going to put half of it over to QQQI. You're looking at $33,000. Now, again, these are best case scenarios that we're looking at here, but that's what you can do with this sheet. You can really set up different portfolios. So if you had, say, 10 tickers here and you want to go more conservative, and then you increase percentage on different ones to go moderate and aggressive to get different scenarios, and you can change that up. You can also come over here to the deposit rules. You can set up to 10 rules, like you're putting in a monthly contribution or an annual. Maybe you have a one-time and quarterly. So you can set up different rules, when that would begin, when it would end, if you want inflation included in that, and you'd have all your 10 symbols here and what percentage. So on rule 1 right here, if you're doing a monthly and say you were doing $100, how much do I want? What percentage do I want going to each of those tickers? So you can fine tune each rule, and then you'd come over to the Forecast Pro, and it would show it here. The Forecast Pro is for when you're dealing with rules. If you just want to look at the actual different scenarios here, you can just look at the forecast. It's a little bit simpler formula, but the Forecast Pro is going to add in these different rules, and you can come over here. It would have each of the different funds and what amount is being deposited to those based on your rules, what your income reinvested is, all these different tools that you can see here with this sheet, and that is available for you if you'd like that. These are the 2 funds we're looking at today, QQQI, GPIQ. Do you own them? Do you want to own them? What are your thoughts on these? And if you get this sheet and there's some funds that are not listed here, just feel free to ask me. I always do my best to get those added as quickly as possible for you. Obviously can't have every ticker out there, but as people request them, I put the ones that are requested on there. That's our video for today. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. And I'll see you next time on Simply Money.